you're going to have an SPSS working Mac, or rather PC. I hate Macs.
Did they say anything for?
Yeah, make it like super humongous. Oh, perfect. That looks good. Wow.
Ta-da! I'll just stay here so I can. Oh, there you go.
That looks good. Okay, that looks good. Okay, let's rewind. Okay, so I want to create a variable. So I create a variable here. I'm going to call it wrap speed, numeric. I don't really want decimals, so I'm going to put this down. You can change this to however big or small you want it. This doesn't really matter. So labels become really important when you have variables that are particularly complex. So let's say you were having a questionnaire, and you wanted, the questionnaire to appear here. So let's say, how many that would be your label. And so that's how you can see really easily when you have multiple variables, which variables are related to which question, or to what particular thing that you wanted. Values are really useful if you have value names and labels that you want to just assign. We don't have any of that in this case, so I don't really care about this. Measure, so these are the 3 different things that you can do in SPSS. Scalar is going to be for quantitative. Usually for categorical, we're going to go to nominal. Ordinal is if you have, an ordered scale. So we're usually not going to do that in this class. So I have scalar. Yeah, sure.
The decimals, if you put it to 0, does it round all the numbers, or does it just not show you the?
It rounds it off. So if you had a value that had 3 decimal places, it will round it off to 2 if you were only showing 2.
So
if you were showing
data output would be different.
It would be than the actual value. That's correct. That's correct. And let's just say, wrap speed and then success. To do the same thing. Input, oh, no, I don't want. So input is just that we're inputting it instead of importing it. So if you wanted to import, so a lot of the data for the homework is in CVS files. If you ever wanted to import it, all you have to do is go to here and see CSV data, okay? So that's really easy. So now that we created our variables, we can, put in some numbers here. So let's just say, just creating. Okay, and let's just say my success, number of CDs sold per year. Okay, so notice that I have decimal places here. So sometimes what happens is when you make a change in SPSS and it doesn't show up, you have to click save. So that's happened to me a couple times. So you can change it on your variable view, and usually it'll show up right away. But if it doesn't, you have to click save. Okay. So let's say that this is going to be my sample. Okay. I want to first look at my data. But a really handy trick to do is to just highlight your variable and click on this. So this is called descriptive statistics. So in stats, we have 2 kinds of statistics. We have descriptive and inferential. Inferential statistics is the regression, ANOVA stuff. Descriptive statistics is stuff like this. What's the mean? What's the median? How are they distributed? Okay. So really quickly, we can look at some, basic stats. We can see our sample. We can see if any of them were missing. We can see what our mean and our median is. We can see our range, and we can see, the minimum and maximum. So this can be really useful when you're doing like initial analyses. Okay. So I'm going to remove this. So let's just say, I want to look at how my data is distributed right now. So I want to do a scatter plot. So a scatter plot is appropriate when you have 2 quantitative variables, okay? The other kind of graphs that are here, like a bar graph, a histogram, these are appropriate when you have at least 1 categorical variable, which we don't right in this case, okay? So because we have 2 quantitative variables, we're going to do a scatter plot. So I'm going to click on this. It'll come up here. The second one I will just bring up is really useful when you want to look at a scatter plot between 2 quantitative variables, but they're grouped by some sort of category. So let's say we were looking at, SAT scores and number of hours slept last night, but they were categorized by race. you could see that on here, okay? So this can be useful for future homeworks. Okay, so we have and so we're just going to put our x and y. So in this case, it doesn't really matter which one we use. So what I am going to do is first rename this, because I really don't like this. Okay. This is what my scatter plot looks right now. It looks really crappy. And this is just because there happens to be, you know, one really big outlier right over here that's pulling all my data. And the way my graph is being represented, it looks like, you know, I'm starting out right at the bottom. So when you get something like this, what you usually want to do is to relook at your data. Okay, look at how your data was entered, and maybe, you know, change some of your values. But, you know, let's just say, for argument's sake, that we wanted to look at the scatter plot, and we wanted to look at the best fit line, so the regression line. I would double click on this, and I would just go over here. So over here, you see something called add fit line to total. That's what I want to click on, okay? And in this case, I just want it to be linear. If you had a quadratic one, you would put quadratic, cubic, etc. So right now, I just want linear. So I'm going to close out of this too. Okay, this is what your scatter plot would look like. And the equation right there is the best fit line equation, which we kind of, you know, don't really care about right now. So that's how you do it in SPSS. So when you look at your data, that's what I did for my own data. The first thing you want to do is, you know, look and see how linear it is. So if you look, you know, in my slide on the right, or on your left, you can see that for my particular data, it looks like, you know, there's a curve over here. So it doesn't look like a linear relationship seems to be the most appropriate, okay? What's the difference between your R